December 27th, 1942. 07:15 hours. Solomon Sea. A Japanese Zero fighter explodes at 24,000 feet, its unarmored fuselage shredding like paper under concentrated machine gun fire. The pilot never had a chance. The American fighter that killed him, a twin-engine monster the Japanese didn't believe could exist, climbs away at 400 miles per hour. Untouchable, unstoppable, impossible. In the next 23 minutes, 10 more Japanese aircraft will fall from the sky. The kill ratio 11-1. This is the day American engineering ended 16 months of Japanese air supremacy. This is the day the P-38 Lightning rewrote the rules of aerial combat forever. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next thrilling videos. Join us as we explore more stories, historical events, and inspiring moments from the past. Be part of our community and discover the untold secrets of history. But before December 27th, before the slaughter, before the P-38, Lightning changed everything. There was only defeat. 16 months of unrelenting, humiliating, catastrophic defeat. The numbers tell a story no propaganda can soften. Kill ratios in China 12-1 against American pilots. Over the Philippines 10-1. Java, Sumatra, New Guinea, everywhere. American fighters climb to meet the enemy, they fall. The Mitsubishi, a 6M0, doesn't just win aerial combat. It dominates, humiliates, slaughters with mechanical precision. December 1942. Pearl Harbor was 16 months ago. 16 months since the rising sun burned across the Pacific, leaving American warships broken in harbor mud. 16 months of Japanese pilots owning the sky like gods of war. At Henderson Field on Guadalcanal, young American pilots stand beside their P-39 Airacobras and P-40 Warhawks, knowing they're flying coffins with wings. The P-40 climbs like a truck hauling bricks. The P-39's engine quits above 15,000 feet, right where Zeros live and hunt. Marine F-4F Wildcats are tough, brutish machines that can take punishment. But they cannot turn with a Zero, cannot climb with a Zero, cannot escape a Zero. 7,000 miles west at Rabaul Air Base, Lieutenant Hiroyoshi Nishizawa walks toward his Zero through humid pre-dawn darkness. He is 22 years old, tall for a Japanese pilot at 5'8", gaunt from recurring malaria. His squadron mates call him the devil, not from cruelty, but from something close to religious awe. In the cockpit of his Zero-tail code F-108, Nishizawa has achieved what Western pilots consider impossible: 180 confirmed victories. He may be the finest pure pilot in the Imperial Navy. Saburo Sakai himself, a legendary ace, once wrote, "Never have I seen a man with a fighter plane do what Nishizawa would do with his Zero." The Zero weighs barely 4,000 pounds lighter than American fighters by half. No armor, no self-sealing fuel tanks. Just a Nakajima radial engine, two 20mm cannons, 2 machine guns, and a turn radius so tight it can loop inside an American fighter's circle and appear on its tail like a ghost. For 16 months, this combination has been unbeatable. Americans have tried everything. New tactics, the Thas-weave mutual support, patterns, slashing attacks. Nothing works. The Zero turns inside every defensive maneuver, climbs above every escape attempt, runs down every fleeing aircraft. But something is changing. Something the Japanese don't yet see. June 1942. 6 months earlier, a Japanese Zero makes a forced landing on Akutan Island in the Aleutians after taking combat damage. The pilot, following doctrine, attempts to destroy the aircraft. He fails. He dies. The Zero sits intact in Aleutian mud until American forces find it 3 weeks later. The intelligence windfall is beyond measure. American engineers transport the Zero to Naval Air Station North Island in San Diego. They study every rivet, every control surface, every specification. They discover truths Japanese pilots have exploited for months. The Zero is faster than American fighters below 15,000 feet. Its climb rate is superior to 20,000 feet. Its turn radius is 40% tighter than a Wildcat's. But the Akutan Zero also reveals fatal weaknesses. Above 20,000 feet, the engine loses power rapidly. The lightweight construction makes it fragile. A few .50 caliber hits will shred the airframe. The aircraft has no armor, no bulletproof windscreen, no self-sealing fuel tanks. One tracer round, and the Zero becomes a fireball. American engineers compile findings. The report circulates with one stark conclusion. We cannot beat the Zero by building better versions of current fighters. We need something completely different. We need speed. The Zero cannot match altitude. It cannot reach firepower. It cannot survive. We need the P-38 Lightning. The Lockheed P-38 shouldn't exist. When the Army Air Corps issued specifications in 1937 for a high-altitude interceptor, they demanded performance no single engine could deliver. Clarence Kelly Johnson. Lockheed's brilliant young engineer saw a solution that seemed insane. Twin engines, twin booms, counter-rotating propellers, tricycle landing gear. A central nacelle containing the pilot and concentrated firepower that would make other fighters look pathetic. 4.50 caliber machine guns, 120mm cannon, all mounted in the nose, all firing straight ahead. No convergence calculations, no dispersed wing guns. If the P-38's nose points at the target, all 5 weapons hit the target simultaneously. The prototype flew January 1939, demonstrating speeds over 400 miles per hour. But speed created a new problem: compressibility. Above 0.7, Mach airflow became turbulent. Aircraft entered uncontrollable dives. Test pilots died. Production delayed. Engineers worked frantically. By late 1942, they found the solution: dive flaps. Small surfaces that controlled turbulent airflow and restored pilot control. The P-38 Lightning was ready for war. December 26, 1942. Henderson Field, Guadalcanal. Inside a sweltering tent, 12 P-38 pilots gather around aerial photographs. They are young, mostly early 20s, carrying the careful tension of men who know tomorrow isn't guaranteed. The briefing officer is methodical. Tomorrow morning, escort B-17 bombers to Shortland Islands. Expect Japanese fighter interception from Rabaul. 20+ Zeros, probably dive bombers. The numbers don't favor Americans. 12 P-38s against superior numbers of the world's best fighter flown by Japan's most experienced pilots. But the briefing officer continues, voice flat factual. Gentlemen, they don't know what you're flying. Intelligence confirms Japanese pilots have seen P-38Es, but think they're reconnaissance aircraft. Too big, too heavy. They can't believe we'd put 2 engines on a fighter. A pause. Pilots lean closer. Their mistake. He points to performance charts. You have 83 miles per hour speed advantage. You outclimb them above 20,000 feet. Your service ceiling is 39,000, theirs is 33,000. Combat loaded, they struggle above 28,000. More charts. Armament comparison. You point at them, you hit them. They calculate convergence, you don't. One good burst, their aircraft disintegrates. No armor, no protection. His expression doesn't change, but next words carry weight. Do not dogfight. You are faster, deadlier. Boom and zoom tactics only. Dive attack, extend away, climb back. Never turn with them. Speed is life, altitude is life insurance. Outside the tent, crew chiefs perform final checks. Twin Allison engines gleam under work lights. Someone stenciled "fork-tailed devil" on one nose, a nickname borrowed from German pilots who encountered P-38s over North Africa. Tomorrow, Japanese pilots will understand why. That same night, 700 miles northwest at Rabaul, Nishizawa, sits in the briefing room, hearing about Henderson Field reinforcements. New aircraft. Twin-engine fighters. The room erupts in laughter. Twin engines on a fighter, Americans are desperate, bolting 2 aircraft together. Heavy, sluggish, unmaneuverable. Target practice for zero agility. Nishizawa doesn't laugh. He's seen too much combat to dismiss opponents entirely. But he doesn't believe these aircraft represent serious threats. The Zero has defeated every American fighter. This will be no different. He accepts the mission briefing patrol. Shortland Islands intercept American bombers. Take 8 zeros. Standard fighter sweep. Tomorrow will be routine. But tomorrow will not be routine. Tomorrow, the sky changes ownership. Tomorrow, 16 months of Japanese air supremacy ends in 23 minutes of concentrated violence. Tomorrow, American engineering defeats Japanese warrior spirit with cold, brutal physics. And Hiroyoshi Nishizawa, the devil of Rabaul, will watch his squadron mates fall and understand that skill cannot overcome technological superiority of this magnitude. The night before everything changes, two forces prepare. One carries confidence from unbroken victories. The other carries desperate hope that technology can overcome experience. Neither fully understands what December 27th will mean. Somewhere over the Solomon Islands, the sun begins to rise. History holds its breath. December 27th, 1942. 05:57 hours. Henderson Field awakens to thunder. Not weather, but engines. 12 P-38. Lightnings roar to life, their counter-rotating propellers, creating sound like rolling apocalypse across coral runway. These twin-engine monsters carry technology. Japanese pilots don't believe exists firepower concentrated into nose-mounted weapons that will rewrite aerial combat forever. In Fan Moat, we witnessed the Zero's 16-month reign of terror, saw American pilots dying and obsolete fighters, watched Hiroyoshi Nishizawa dominate Pacific skies with 180 kills. We discovered the captured Akuten Zero revealed fatal weaknesses. Engineers responded with the P-38 Lightning twin engines 400 miles per hour, service ceiling 39,000 feet, concentrated nose guns. Last night, 12 P-38 pilots received briefing intercept Japanese bombers tomorrow. Boom and zoom tactics only. Never dogfight. Speed is life. But this morning, as pilots climb into cockpits, doubt creeps in. These aircraft are untested in Pacific combat. Japanese pilots are veterans with years of experience. The Zero has defeated every American fighter deployed. What if intelligence is wrong? What if the P-38 can't deliver? What if this becomes another massacre? Another list of American names carved into memorial walls and across 700 miles of ocean. Nishizawa leads 8 zeros toward the same airspace, confident, experienced, utterly unprepared for what's coming. The first P-38 rolls forward. Behind it, 11 more follow. They take off in pairs, landing gear retracting smoothly into nacelles, climbing eastward toward rising sun. Below them, Guadalcanal's dark mass falls away. Ahead, 800 miles of open ocean and certainty of combat. At 10,000 feet, formation settles into loose echelon. Pilots check oxygen systems, test guns with short bursts, sending tracers arcing into empty air. Radios crackle with position reports, weather updates, nothing about enemy. Not yet. At Rabaul Air Base, Nishizawa leads his flight down runway in formation, so tight wingtips nearly touch. They lift off as one climbs steeply bank south toward Shortland Islands. Other Zero squadrons follow. Strike force totals 20 fighters. Behind them, 7 Aichi D-3A dive bombers struggle into air-fixed landing gear, hanging like awkward bird legs. Standard doctrine. Routine mission. Nishizawa has flown this profile dozens of times. At 25,000 feet, formation levels off. He scans sky with practiced efficiency. Empty blue, perfect hunting weather. His radio crackles with dive bomber leader reports on course on time, no enemy contact. Another successful mission. Another day of Japanese air superiority. He has no idea he's flying toward obsolescence. 7:15 hours. Somewhere over Solomon Sea. P-38 formation climbs through 22,000 feet and keeps climbing. Allison engines, each producing 1,475 horsepower, pull heavy fighters upward with steady, relentless power. Turbo superchargers, magnificent pieces of American engineering, maintain full boost at altitudes where naturally aspirated engines gasp and wheeze. At 25,000 feet, pilots level off and continue south. Ocean below is wrinkled mirror of blue and white. Weather, clear visibility, unlimited. Then the radio, bandits 11 o'clock high, multiple contacts, estimate 20-plus aircraft. Formation leader's voice is calm, almost conversational. Gentlemen, there they are. Remember your training. Boom and zoom only. Do not dogfight. Speed is life. 12 pilots check gun switches, adjust oxygen flow scan, sky ahead. There. Tiny specks against high clouds growing larger. The young lieutenant, the one who will score his first kill today, feels heart hammering against ribs. Hands slick inside gloves. He forces himself to breathe slowly, steadily. Training instructor's voice echoes, "Fear is normal. Channel it, use it. Don't let it use you." Specs resolve into aircraft. Zeros. Distinctive greenhouse canopy, fixed landing gear. Below them, unmistakable silhouette of dive bombers. Japanese have seen them too. Nishizawa spots American formation and experiences pure confusion. Twin-engine aircraft, large, heavy-looking. But they're not bombers. They're climbing toward his altitude with shocking speed. They're not struggling. They're maintaining formation, maintaining speed, climbing past 25,000 feet as if altitude means nothing. This shouldn't be possible. His wingman's voice crackles high-pitched with surprise. "Taiko, what are those?" "Unknown. Maintain formation. Prepare to engage." But even giving the order, doubt creeps into Nishizawa's mind. These aren't reconnaissance aircraft. Too aggressive, too purposeful. They're fighters. Twin-engine fighters. The Americans climb higher. 26,000 feet. 27,000. Nishizawa's Zero, loaded with fuel and ammunition, struggles maintaining altitude. Engine coughs slightly, not enough oxygen at this height. He enriches mixture, coaxing more power, but aircraft feels sluggish, heavy. American formation levels off at 27,000 feet, 2,000 feet above Zeros, and begins circling. For first time in 16 months of combat, Hiroyoshi Nishizawa looks up at enemy formation and realizes they hold altitude advantage. They dictate terms of engagement. His radio erupts with confused Japanese voices. "What are they doing? They're above us. How can they climb so high?" Nishizawa makes decision. Attack. Even from disadvantage, Zero's superior maneuverability will prevail. It always has. All aircraft prepare for climbing attack. Target lead formation. He pulls back on stick, pointing Zero's nose skyward, opens throttle. Engine screams, airspeed bleeds away. Zero claws for altitude, fighting physics and thin air. Above him, P-38 formation watches and waits. Formation leader sees Zero's beginning climb and keys radio. Here they come. Alpha flight, take fighters. Bravo flight, hit dive bombers. Execute. P-38 formation splits. 6 aircraft roll into dives, targeting climbing Zeros. 6 more swing wide, attacking dive bombers. Lead P-38 rolls, inverted pulls, through and dives. Acceleration is immediate and violent. 27,000 feet of altitude advantage. Airspeed indicator spins upward 300 miles per hour, 350-400. Dive angle steep, almost vertical. Twin Allison engines scream in unison. Airframe shudders, but hold solid. Dive flaps deploy automatically, keeping aircraft stable, controllable. 450 miles per hour. Japanese formation expands in gunsight, growing from specks to aircraft to targets with terrifying speed. Lead pilot selects Zero, still climbing, still trying to reach his altitude. Range closes 800 yards, 600, 400. He centers target in gunsight and squeezes trigger. P-38. Shudders as all 5 weapons discharge simultaneously. 4.50 caliber machine guns and 120mm cannon, all firing from nose, all converging on single point in space. Sound is apocalyptic, a tearing, ripping roar, drowning even engine noise. Tracers arc forward in perfect concentrated stream. No dispersal, no convergence angle, just pure focused destruction. Zero pilot sees tracers coming and throws aircraft into violent turn. Too late. Burst hits aircraft centerline, walking up from wing root to cockpit. Lightweight airframe designed for agility, not durability, disintegrates under concentrated fire. Fabric shreds, aluminum crumples. Fuel tank unprotected by armor or self-sealing technology erupts into flame. Zero becomes fireball at 24,000 feet and begins final descent. P-38 doesn't attempt following. It pulls out of dive at 18,000 feet. G-forces crushing pilot into seat and climbs away at 400 miles per hour. Surviving Zeros still struggling upward, watch helplessly as P-38 extends out of range, climbs back to altitude, repositions for another attack. They cannot catch it. They cannot climb to meet it. They can only watch it come again. Second P-38 selects Zero and dives. This time, Japanese pilot sees attack developing. He's veteran, 15 kills, 2 years combat experience. He knows what to do. As P-38 approaches, he throws Zero into hard right turn, using aircraft's legendary maneuverability to force overshoot. Tactic has worked 100 times against American fighters. It fails completely. P-38 doesn't turn, doesn't try following. It dives straight through Zero's turning circle at speed differential over 100 miles per hour. Fires 2-second burst from nose guns, keeps going. Burst hits Zero's engine. Radial cylinders shatter. Oil sprays across windscreen. Propeller seizes twisting aircraft violently right. Pilot fights for control, manages leveling aircraft, begins long smoking descent toward ocean. He will survive. His aircraft will not. P-38 already climbs back to altitude. Young lieutenant makes his run on third pass. Target is Zero, that wisely abandoned climb, diving away, trying escaping to lower altitude where maneuverability advantage might matter. But P-38 is faster in dive, much faster. Lieutenant pushes throttles to stops and follows. Chase lasts 12 seconds. At 18,000 feet, traveling 430 miles per hour, Lieutenant has closed to 300 yards. Hands steady now. Fear gone, burned away by adrenaline and focus. He centers Zero in gun sight and fires. P-38. Nose lights up with muzzle flashes. Concentrated firepower stream reaches forward like lance. Zero pilot sees it coming, attempts barrel roll, beautiful, desperate maneuver. Too slow. Burst catches Zero broadside. Lightweight fuselage crumples. Wing separates. Aircraft tumbles end over end, shedding pieces as it falls. Lieutenant pulls out of dive and keys radio. Voice shaking but clear. Splash 1. It's first time he's killed another human being. Magnitude doesn't register yet. Right now, only mission. Only survival. Only next target. He climbs back toward formation. Hiroyoshi Nishizawa watches 3 Zeros fall in less than 4 minutes and experiences something never felt in combat before: helplessness. American fighters hold altitude advantage, dictate terms of engagement, and the Zero pilots cannot respond. Nishizawa keys radio, trying coordination. All aircraft dive to lower altitude, reform at 15,000 feet. We'll engage them on our terms. But Americans won't cooperate. As Zeros dive, P-38s simply maintain altitude and circle overhead like hawks watching wounded prey. Then they strike again. 6 P-38s target dive bomber formation. Dive bombers are slow, ungainly aircraft sitting ducks for fighters. Their only defense is Zero escort, supposed to intercept attacking fighters before reaching bombers. But Zeros are 4,000 feet below P-38s, struggling to climb back to combat altitude. Americans dive on dive bombers unopposed. Slaughter is clinical and horrifying. First bomber explodes in midair, hit by sustained burst from multiple P-38s. Second tries diving away, attempting using small speed advantage to escape. P-38s follow it down, firing in short, precise bursts. Bomber falls in flames. Nishizawa watches this massacre and understands with crystalline clarity that age of Japanese air superiority has ended. These American fighters aren't just better aircraft. They represent completely different philosophy of aerial warfare. Speed over maneuverability, altitude over agility, concentrated firepower over distributed guns. And there's nothing he can do to stop them. Battle fragments into series of one-sided engagements. Zero pilot frustrated and desperate attempts head-on pass against diving P-38. Gutsy move. Two aircraft closing at combined speeds exceeding 700 miles per hour, both committed to collision course until one breaks off. Zero pilot is brave, skilled, experienced. His two 20mm cannons and two machine guns fire at approaching P-38. P-38's nose erupts with return fire. 5 weapons firing straight ahead. No wing convergence, no dispersal pattern, just overwhelming, concentrated destruction. Physics of engagement favor P-38. Zero pilot is pulling G-forces in slight climbing turn, trying tracking target growing larger at terrifying speed. His accuracy suffers. Shots scatter around P-38, hitting nothing critical. P-38 pilot is flying straight and level, letting target come to him. Aircraft is stable. Weapons are fixed. Aim is precise. Burst walks up Zero center line and into engine. Cowling explodes. Zero shudders, trail smoke rolls inverted as pilot tries desperately bailing out. P-38 flashes past at 440 miles per hour, pieces of disintegrating Zero hammering against twin booms like hail on tin roof. Pilot checks wings. Minor damage. Both engines running smooth. He climbs back toward formation. 23 minutes after first shot, battle ends. Sky is empty of Japanese aircraft. Those that could escape have fled south toward Rabaul, trailing smoke and leaking fuel. Those that couldn't lie scattered across 15 miles of Solomon Sea, burning oil slicks marking their graves. Final tally: 11. Japanese aircraft destroyed. 9 fighters, 2 dive bombers. American losses: 1 P-38, hit by defensive fire from dive bomber forced ditching in ocean. Pilot will be rescued by Navy patrol boat 3 hours later, bruised but alive. Kill ratio 11-1. P-38, formation reforms at 25,000 feet and turns northwest following surviving Japanese aircraft back toward Rabaul. They don't pursue. Low on ammunition and fuel. But they make point. They escort retreating Zeros for 50 miles, maintaining altitude superiority, demonstrating they could attack again if they chose. Message is clear. The sky belongs to us now. Sky. Hiroyoshi Nishizawa lands at Rabaul with 2 other Zeros. 3 aircraft out of 8. Dive bomber formation has been annihilated. He climbs out of cockpit on shaking legs and walks past maintenance crews without speaking. His mind replays battle, analyzing every engagement, searching for lessons, searching for answers. There are none. Americans didn't just win. They rewrote rules. In debriefing room, intelligence officer listens to his report with growing alarm. Twin-engine fighters speed over 400 miles per hour. Service ceiling above our combat altitude. Concentrated forward-firing armament. Boom and zoom tactics exclusively. Officer writes frantically, filling page after page. Nishizawa pauses, then adds most important detail. We could not engage them on our terms. They held altitude advantage, speed advantage. Every tactical doctrine we possessed, turning combat climbing attacks, formation defense, was ineffective. They simply dove, fired, and escaped. We couldn't catch them. We couldn't climb to them. We couldn't force them to fight in our advantage envelope. Recommendations. Nishizawa is silent for a long moment. Avoid combat with these aircraft unless we have overwhelming numerical advantage and surprise. Even then, success is uncertain. It's first time in his career he's recommended avoiding combat. Intelligence officer's pen stops moving. You're certain? I watched experienced pilots die today because their skill didn't matter. Their aircraft were inferior. Skill cannot overcome technological disadvantage of this magnitude. Report will reach Tokyo within 48 hours. Senior commanders will initially dismiss it as exaggeration, battle fatigue, defeatist thinking. But similar reports will arrive from across Solomon Islands. P-38s at Buna. P-38s at New Guinea. P-38s everywhere achieving same devastating kill ratios. By January 1943, Japanese naval aviation will officially acknowledge Zero no longer guarantees air superiority. Henderson Field, 1340 hours. 12 P-38s land in pairs, twin engines winding down with satisfied growls. Pilots climb out to chorus of questions from ground crews, intelligence officers, reporters. Young lieutenant stands beside his aircraft still processing what happened. He killed man today. Zero pilot never had chance. Speed differential was too great. Firepower too concentrated. It wasn't fair fight. It was slaughter. Crew chief approaches running hands over P-38's twin booms, checking for damage. How'd she handle, sir? Like nothing I've ever flown. Fast, stable, deadly. The Japs know what hit them. Lieutenant thinks about Zero pilot's desperate barrel roll beautiful maneuver that should have worked against any other fighter. They do now. Later in debriefing, formation leader will describe engagement in technical terms. Altitude advantage exploited. Boom and zoom doctrine validated. Concentrated armament proved superior to dispersed wing guns. Enemy maneuverability negated by superior speed. But what he doesn't say, what every pilot in that room understands, is simpler and more profound. Americans finally have fighter that can beat Zero. Not through superior skill, not through better tactics, but through better engineering, better design, better tools. They brought rifles to sword fight, and sword fighters are dying. Intelligence report from Rabaul arrives at Imperial Navy headquarters in Tokyo on December 29, 1942. 48 hours after battle. Officer who reads it doesn't believe word. Twin-engine American fighters achieving 11-to-1 kill ratios against Japan's elite Zero pilots. Impossible. Zero is invincible. Everyone knows this. 16 months of unbroken victories prove it. He files report and forgets about it. Then another report arrives, and another. From Buna, from Port Moresby, from across Solomon Islands. Different squadrons, different battles, same results. P-38. Lightning is destroying Japanese air power. By mid-January 1943, Tokyo can no longer deny truth. Age of Zero has ended. P-38. Multiply like plague across Pacific Theater. January 1943. 339th Fighter Squadron at Henderson Field receives reinforcements. 18 P-38s become 36, then 54. February 475th. Fighter Group Satan's Angels arrives in New Guinea with 72 P-38s. Kill markings will eventually exceed 500 Japanese aircraft. March 49th. Fighter Group transitions from P-40 to P-38s. Within weeks, their kill ratios double, then triple. Everywhere lightning appears, pattern repeats. Japanese fighters climb to intercept. P-38s hold altitude advantage and dive. Zeros turn weave attempt their legendary aerobatics. P-38s ignore maneuvers, fire devastating bursts from concentrated nose guns, climb away at speeds Zeros cannot match. Kill ratios are staggering 10-to-1, 15-to-1, sometimes 20-to-1. Japanese pilots, even veterans with years of combat experience, describe P-38 encounters with something approaching psychological trauma. Saburo Sakai, ace, who flew with Nishizawa, will later write, "The P-38 destroyed morale of Zero fighter pilot. We could not catch it, could not climb with it, could not escape it. Americans have weaponized physics itself." Hiroyoshi Nishizawa continues flying through early 1943. His victory count climbs 200-220. But nature of combat has changed fundamentally. He's no longer hunting. He's surviving. Confidence that once defined his flying is gone, replaced by caution, calculation, and knowledge that technological superiority trumps pilot skill. His Zero still turns beautifully still, responds to lightest touch. But what good is maneuverability when enemy fights from altitude you cannot reach at speeds you cannot match? He watches younger pilots die, their aircraft skills magnificent and useless. They execute perfect barrel rolls, perfect split-S maneuvers, perfect defensive weaves. P-38s kill them anyway. In March 1943, Nishizawa's squadron is pulled back from frontline duty, officially for rest and refit. Unofficially, command recognizes sending Zeros against P-38s is suicide. But there's one mission P-38s are uniquely suited for. One target that will change war's course forever. And that mission is being planned right now in secret rooms at Henderson Field by men who understand what Lightning truly represents, not just superior fighter, but weapon that can reach anywhere, strike anyone, and return safely. The age of Japanese dominance is over. What comes next will prove it beyond all doubt. April 14, 1943. U.S. Navy cryptographers decode Japanese transmission, revealing Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, architect of Pearl Harbor, commander of Combined Fleet, symbol of Japanese naval power, will fly inspection tour from Rabaul to Shortland Islands on April 18th. The route brings him within range of Henderson Field. Mission is assigned to Major John Mitchell's 339th Fighter Squadron. 16 P-38 Lightnings, 435 miles over open ocean. Long-range fuel tanks, perfect navigation, required zero margin for error. Only P-38 has range and performance for this mission. Only P-38 can reach Yamamoto and survive zero escort protecting him. Implications are staggering. Kill Yamamoto and Japan loses finest naval strategist. Kill Yamamoto and American morale soars. Kill Yamamoto and attack on Pearl Harbor is avenged. But flight must appear accidental chance encounter, or Japan will know their codes are broken. Mitchell plots circuitous route low over ocean time to intercept Yamamoto's aircraft at precisely 0935 hours over Bougainville. Margin for error is measured in seconds. April 18, 1943. 0705 hours. Henderson Field. 16 P-38s take off into gray dawn skies. Each aircraft carries two 310-gallon drop tanks, enough fuel for round trip with 20 minutes combat reserve. Extra weight makes aircraft sluggish, heavy on controls. They fly at wave-top height, avoiding Japanese radar. Navigation is perfect. Mitchell's plotting is flawless. At 0934 hours, they climb to attack altitude and spot two Mitsubishi G4M Betty bombers escorted by 6 Zeros. Yamamoto is in lead bomber. Mitchell's radio crackles. Bogies 11 o'clock low. Formation splits. 4 P-38s, led by Captain Thomas Lanphier, dive on bombers. 12 P-38s engage zero escort. Battle lasts 4 minutes. Lanphier's P-38 closes on lead Betty at 350 miles per hour. Bomber's tail gunner fires frantically. Tracers arc past Lanphier's canopy. He ignores them, centers bomber in gun sight, and fires sustained burst. Concentrated firepower from 4.50 caliber guns and 120mm cannon tears through Betty's unarmored fuselage. Right engine explodes. Wing shears off. Bomber rolls inverted and plunges into jungle below. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto dies in crash. Man who planned Pearl Harbor is killed by aircraft his own success created. Symbolic victory is profound. Japan has lost finest naval mind. America has demonstrated it can reach anywhere, strike anyone. And P-38 Lightning has written its name in history. War continues for 2 more years. Numbers tell story. 10,037 P-38 Lightnings are produced. They serve every theater. Europe, Mediterranean, Pacific, China, Burma, India. But it's in Pacific that Lightning truly dominates. 1,800 Japanese aircraft fall to P-38 guns in aerial combat. America's top 2 aces both fly P-38s exclusively. Major Richard Bong scores 40 victories before being killed, test-flying jet fighter, in August 1945. Major Thomas Maguire scores 38 victories before dying in combat over Philippines in January 1945. The 475th Fighter Group Satan's Angels, flying only P-38s, becomes top-scoring Army Air Force unit with over 500 aerial victories. Germans call it fork-tailed devil. Japanese adopt name with fearful respect. Sight of twin booms silhouetted against sky triggers, retreat panic, sometimes surrender. P-38 doesn't just win battles. It breaks will of enemy pilots who know with certainty they're flying inferior machines against superior technology. Hiroyoshi Nishizawa survives until October 1944. His final victory count varies by source, 87 officially confirmed, perhaps more. He never flies against P-38s again after early 1943. Command won't allow it. Japan's remaining aces are too valuable to waste in unwinnable battles. Instead, he fights in Philippines flying against increasingly numerous American fighters, Hellcats, Corsairs, Mustangs. All formidable, all dangerous, but nothing like P-38s that ended his invincibility. On October 26, 1944, he's passenger and transport aircraft flying from Mabalacat to Clark Field. Mission is routine, picking up replacement fighters. Weather is clear. American F-6F Hellcat pilot spots transport and shoots it down. Devil of Rabaul dies in passenger seat, not cockpit. Irony is brutal. One of history's finest combat pilots killed while defenseless riding as cargo. Japan mourns. Tokyo issues special bulletins. He's posthumously promoted to lieutenant junior grade. War consumes him like it consumed thousands of other skilled pilots, Japanese and American, whose lives were measured in missions, in victories, in pitiless mathematics of industrial warfare. August 1945. War ends. American veterans return home carrying memories of combat in P-38, P-51, B-17 fighters and bombers, representing peak of American industrial might. They remember aircraft that brought them through machines that gave them advantages their enemies couldn't match. Japanese veterans return to devastated homeland, carrying memories of fighting brilliant, hopeless battles in aircraft that became obsolete while they flew them. Both sides remember P-38 Lightning, but Lightning's legacy extends far beyond World War II. Twin-engine configuration proves revolutionary. After war, principles pioneered in P-38 influenced next generation of fighters. F-14, Tomcat, F-15, Eagle, F-18, Hornet, all incorporate lessons learned. Altitude advantage, concentrated firepower, boom and zoom tactics. Modern air combat doctrine traces directly back to December 27, 1942, when 12 P-38s rewrote rules over Solomon Sea. Concentrated nose-mounted weapons become standard. Wing-mounted guns disappear from fighter design. Every modern fighter from 1950 onward mounts guns in fuselage, centerline exactly as Clarence Kelly Johnson designed in 1937. Speed over maneuverability becomes doctrine. Modern fighters prioritize thrust-to-weight ratio acceleration, energy retention. Turn radius once, paramount becomes secondary consideration. P-38 proved physics beats acrobatics. That lesson never changed. May 1975. 30 years after victory, restored. P-38. Lightning sits in Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, twin booms gleaming under gallery lights. Visitors walk around it reading placard describing service record technical specifications role in winning Pacific War. Elderly man stops before aircraft and stands long time saying nothing. He's 55 years old, retired airline pilot, silver hair, steady hands despite age. To anyone watching, he's just another museum visitor. But he flew P-38s in 1943. Henderson Field, Guadalcanal. He was there, December 27, 1942, when everything changed. He scored first victory that day, young Japanese pilot in Zero, who never had chance against technology and speed. He remembers, Kill remembers Zero, breaking apart under concentrated fire. Remembers feeling satisfaction, then horror, then numbness. 30 years later, standing before this restored aircraft, he feels something else. Not pride exactly, not shame. Something more complicated. This machine saved his life. This machine killed hundreds of Japanese pilots. Both things are true simultaneously. Younger visitor approaches. "Excuse me, sir, did you fly these?" "Yes. Pacific Theater 43 to 45. "Must have been something. These things were unstoppable, right?" Old pilot looks at P-38's nose where 4.50 caliber machine guns and one 20mm cannon once fired in perfect concert. "They gave us advantage. Speed, altitude, firepower. But unstoppable number war doesn't work that way. We just had better tools than other side. Better engineering, better resources." He pauses, choosing words carefully. Japanese pilots were brave, skilled. They fought with everything they had. But they were flying aircraft designed in 1930s against machines designed for different kind of war. Technology beat tradition. Industry beat courage. That's what this aircraft represents. Younger visitor nods, unsure how to respond. Old pilot touches P-38's propeller blade gently, where you might touch gravestone. "A lot of good men died on both sides. This aircraft helped us win, but winning cost more than most people understand." He turns and walks away, leaving P-38 gleaming silently under museum lights. Monument to American ingenuity, to industrial might, to cold mathematics of war, where superior technology writes history in wreckage of obsolete machines and graves of brave pilots who flew them. Fork-tailed devil. Lightning that ended Japanese air supremacy. Weapon that proved skill alone cannot overcome technological superiority. History remembers victories. Pilots remember cost. Both memories are true. Both matter. Twin booms cast long shadows across gallery floor as visitors continue their tours, pausing briefly before moving to next exhibit, next aircraft, next chapter of war that shaped world and haunted men who fought it. P-38 remains. Silent. Waiting. Testament to men who flew it and men who fell before it. Victory has shape. Sometimes it looks like twin booms and central nacelle. Sometimes it looks like future-destroying past. Always it remembers. From December 1942, when 12 aircraft changed war's trajectory, to April 1943, when 16 aircraft killed Admiral, to 1,800 Japanese aircraft destroyed across Pacific Theater. Lightning proved one truth. Innovation defeats tradition. Engineering defeats courage. Speed defeats skill. And sometimes in desperate hours of total war, that difference saves nations. That's power of seeing problem differently, building solution impossibly, flying machine fearlessly. That's legacy of P-38 Lightning.